Hello YouTube, this is West from West Gaming, and as you can see, we got a little toy in the mail today. Specifically, I got this to play on Star Citizen, so let's check it out. Now, I have this all hooked up, and as you can see, kinda got some lights going. But we have two pieces here. The throttle system. Now this moves just forwards and back. And what's kind of nice is that there's resistance. And if you look at the little knob over here, it says force, positive and negative, which means you can increase or decrease the resistance that is in the throttle. So that's pretty nice. Now, the other thing is that when you kind of get it towards the end, it actually clicks back into the zero throttle position, which is pretty nice. It's actual like tactile force that lets you know you're not going anywhere, which is pretty nice. There's also the little mouse nub here, some more surfaces that allow you to control different things as well. Now on the back side, you also have a couple more controls. This just kind of moves back and forth, and this is kind of like a scroll wheel for a mouse. Now, if you look at the display here, let's kind of move this out of the way so you can see, maybe. There's a couple of different things that you can click on as far as the function goes, and all it really does is change the time between the actual time and a stopwatch. Now, to change the modes, that's actually on this other controller here. So let's take a look at that. So this guy is actually really cool. So there's a couple of different things in here. With the joystick, there's a significant amount of resistance moving in any direction, which is really nice, and the spring puts it back to neutral pretty quickly, and yeah, it's just a really nice system. This is built very well. This is actually metal, and there's a couple of other metal components in here as well, which I was not expecting, but yeah, that's really nice. So you have a couple of switches here on the bottom. All of them are lit up with LEDs, and each switch you can program to do whatever you would like it to do. Now, this knob on the side, you can see when you switch it, the light kind of changes color, and it's a little hard for you to see on the camera, but it does go from blue to kind of a pink to a purple almost. I think it's kind of a red, but it changes colors. But what that does is on the throttle control, the numbers you can see on the top, well, barely see, they change between the profile presets back and forth. So that's pretty cool. Now, the other thing, there's a couple of different buttons on here. They're labeled, so you can kind of use the labels a little bit. But one of the coolest things that I thought was the missile launch button, which is really cool. It's kind of got this little cover on it, and it's hard to see with the camera, but there's actually a little target symbol on that light. The other thing that you have two little hats right here that move in any direction, up, down, left, right, whatnot, which is really cool. Now, the other thing, you have two triggers on this control. So one is the regular trigger on the front, and then there's also one where the pinky goes right back here, which you can also once again program. The other thing is that the handle here is completely adjustable. So this part will move up and down depending on the size that you want, which once again is very cool. I'm very excited. I got this to play Star Citizen with, which is what we are going to look at now. So first of all, let's look at how you actually make sure that the system is functioning on Star Citizen. So if you go to Options, go over to Keybindings, and scroll over to the joystick, go down to Advanced Controls, and then Control Profiles. You can scroll through the menu here, and any control system that you have should be somewhere in this list, and if it is not, you can download it. But right here we have the joystick Saitek X52, and you just click on that and click on joystick and import, and ta-da, you are done. So now let's check out what the buttons do. Okay, first thing, let's show you how to take off in the Constellation. Now, you still use the keyboard and mouse to run around on foot, but as soon as you sit in the chair, you have access to the controls. Now, as soon as it loads, the first thing that you are going to do to take off vertically is to use this button right here. Now, you pull it towards you or pull it up in order to move up, and push it away to move down. So, if we just pull that button.
Takeoff complete. Landing gear raised. Collision alert.
Up.
Front. Radar contact. Standby. Scanning.
Okay. So now, rotate forward with the throttle control.
Radar contact. Radar contact.
And that moves
Standby.
the
Scanning.
ship forward. Now, the other thing, this button right here, this changes your throttle type from precision mode and all the way up to cruise mode. And then if you want to change it back, you throttle back down and then push the button again and it'll switch back all the way back to precision mode. So now to control the ship with the joystick, if you rotate it, or I guess just lean it
Standby.
to the right or the left, it will just
Radar contact.
move the
Standby.
ship
Scanning.
right or left. It's kind of like the tail rudder of a plane, so it's just going to move you right or left. Now if you pull the joystick towards you, it'll move you up. If you push it away, it'll move you down. Now, to kind of do more complex things, if you just grab the control and literally rotate it, it'll rotate the ship to the right, or if you rotate it to the left, it'll move it to the right or to the left. Now, if we kind of look at this guy right over here, one of these guys, to target them, rotate this so you can see it. This little pad here, if you click that up, it will select them, and you can click it down and rotate through the different targets.
Radar contact.
Now,
Standby. Scanning.
You also can go
Radar
into
contact. Standby.
quantum drive
Scanning. Radar contact.
by clicking either up or down on this last trigger here. So it's labeled as T5 and T6. So if you push up on T5, it will bring up all of the control the quantum locations that you can go to. So let's select one of those that's kind of out of the way. Yeah, so let's go to yellow. Now, to actually activate the quantum drive, you just push down on this button.
Quantum drive is now on.
Which is T6 on the presets.
Quantum drive is now off.
Alright, so now that we are here, if we kind of rotate and go through the different modes here, we can go to cruise mode, and as you can see, it kind of performs the same as with the mouse and keyboard. Now the only difference is that when you throttle back and forth, you can see the throttle moves up and down. Now, if you want to limit the amount of thrust your throttle gives, this little button, or I guess it's more of a knob, if you move that forwards or back, it will limit the amount of throttle you can give. So, say in cruise mode, see how it's dropping way down, and even though I'm giving it 100%, it is not giving it full throttle. Now, I can rotate it back all the way up, and it will give it full throttle again. Which is pretty cool. It gives you a little more precision, and especially in precision mode, if you are really just trying to nudge your way into very tight spaces, you can use that to control how much thrust you're actually able to give the ship. So, now let's go back to the joystick. So, you have a couple of different buttons here. So, on the bottom here, this actually changes depending on the ship that you are flying. So this is the Constellation. So the button layout is the quantum drive is the T5 and T6. Landing and the weapons mode is T1 and the T2 position, which is literally just toggling this up or down. Your regular weapons are the trigger on here, so if you pull that, it fires your main weapons, whether that be just laser cannons or whatever it is, your main weapons will fire. Now to target your missiles, you actually flip this little guy up, hold the button, and it will target them, and push it again, and it'll fire the missiles. And then, depending on how many times you hold the button, will depend on how many missiles it fires. So, one of the other things is this button on the side here. Kind of rotate this so you can see it a little better. This lower button on here.
Chaff away.
That,
Chaff away.
as you can tell, is your either chaff or flare button. And then this button changes your view, so that's the top LED, and it just cycles through the views. One of the other things I forgot to mention is on the joystick here. This hat right here is actually pretty cool. What it allows you to do is while you're flying, you can actually look around in your cockpit, which usually in order to do that you would have to exit and you would have no control over where the ship is going in order to look around and look out of the windows, which is really nice, and it allows you to do quite a bit. So that is the flight control system for the Constellation. Now, here we are in the Freelancer, and as you can see, basically all of the controls are exactly the same as the Constellation. Now, the only difference that I can find between ship to ship is the bottom buttons on the joystick are different, and this button up here, if I can get that in the frame, right here, can actually control the different types of weapons. So something like the Merlin has two different types of weapons, which you can control with both the trigger and the button on the side here. Okay, here we are flying the Hornet, and most of all the controls are exactly the same. Now, the only thing that is not the same is the eject. So these triggers on the bottom,
landing mode engaged, weapon mode engaged,
if you
ejecting,
double
warning,
click
system
up
overheating.
on the T1, it ejects you. Now, considering that the Constellation and the Freelancer,
Stand by
you
for
can't actually
reintegration.
eject out of the ship, is probably why the controls are different. Okay, now here we are in the 315P. And once again, most of all the controls are exactly the same. Now, the only thing that is different is, once again, the eject.
Prepare to eject.
If you
Alert.
double click
System.
up onto T1, it will eject you out of the ship. Okay, one of the last ships that I'm going to show you is the Merlin. Now, basically all the controls are exactly the same. The main differences are the eject button, and on the top of the joystick here, this little button on the side, if you click that, that actually fires your machine gun. So if you have different types of weapons, I'm assuming that the button on the top will fire the secondary weapons, and then the trigger will fire the main weapons. One of the other things I forgot to mention in the previous ships is actually how to land. So we are going to show you how to do that right now. So the trigger on the bottom, once you hit the T2,
HUD landing mode activated.
activates the landing mode, and then the little hat over here
Manual landing
changes it
activated.
between
Auto land
the
activated.
manual and auto landing. And then the bottom LED here
Request to land granted.
selects which landing you want. So then if you just fly near it, it should automatically land the ship.
Landing gear deployed.
Baby.
Manual landing. Landing gear raised. Auto land activated.
There we
Landing
go.
gear deployed. Safe arrival
And
achieved.
there you go. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. This is West Gaming.